Hi guys, it's me, Zoe. Today I will be doing a review of I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. I said that this is my next to be read book and my last book haul. Here's the wonderfully beautiful cover. And today I'm going to review it. In addition to reading I'll Give You the Sun, my Percy Jackson books arrived, and this I already owned, but it's the movie cover, and now I have the original covers and the Demigod Files. So now let's get on to the review while I drink my tea in a mason jar. This book is the storyline of two twins, Jude and Noah. Noah tells the first part of their story and Jude tells the second half. So Noah is telling from ages 13 to 14 and Jude is telling present day. And I really like how they do this because whatever Noah is finding out correlates with what Jude is finding out, except you have overview of what's happening because you know what happened in both perspectives, whereas they don't know that that happened. So they sort of weave together the story, and then at the end you figure out how it all comes together, which I thought was really cool. One thing I didn't like about how they had the two different storylines was that they tried to fit so much in and at one time that the chapters are so long. I mean, the first chapter is like that long, and it doesn't look like that long, but that's a whole 24 pages. And I know that's not a lot, but then like up until this point of the book, that point, all the chapters just get so like long, and then when they finally switch characters, you're like, oh yeah, there's another character. Totally forgot about them. So that's what I didn't like. The characters in the story basically consist of Jude, Noah, their mom, their dad, and then there's Brian and Oscar, and those are the ones that I'm going to talk about. There are plenty more, but I decided to do the main characters and what I thought of them. Jude I actually wasn't a big fan of. I didn't like her in her teenage years. I mean, she was just that one brat that nobody likes, and at school you're just like, oh, shut up. And Noah was like the exact opposite of her. And then later in the story they switched, and I really didn't understand why that happened. It was basically like she was telling Noah's story, but called it Jude. And I didn't understand that, and sometimes I'd have to check who the character was. I liked how both of their characters ended up. I feel like that's how it was meant to be, rather than in the beginning. And I just felt like the characters weren't right until the end. And if you end up reading this, you'll see what I mean. But I'm trying to do no spoilers, so you'll see. Her mom, I actually wasn't a big fan of either. She came off as, to me, as an attention hog. And I know that she sounds like a great lady, so interested in art, very interesting, and very nurturing towards her kids, but I felt like how she was always talking about art, and then would like talk about how the grandma was like talking to her, when really she was talking to Jude. I was like, lady, just shut up. Just like with the popular girls at school, shut up. And as nice as she seemed, I just wasn't a big fan of her, and I didn't like hearing about her that much. And spoiler alert, just turn down the volume real low and cover your ears. When she died, I didn't really care that much. I mean, I know it totally affected the twins, and it totally switched their lives around, but I didn't care. I was like, oh, okay, she's dead. Meh. And I know that sounds really cold and heartless, but she just wasn't my favorite character. Their dad, on the other hand, I was a big fan of. I know that he wasn't exactly portrayed the best, with him making them jump off his shoulders into the ocean and always telling Noah to act tough and you'll be tough. But I thought the way that he parented was a good way. I feel like he seems like a nice person, and whenever he was walking, I thought that was a good way to like deal with his problems instead of yelling at his kids. And then at the end, again, spoiler, turn down the volume, I thought where he was like, oh, that makes sense. I liked how he handled that because I felt like if he had just gotten all mad and angry, then he would have just been a bad person. And so now he's like dealing with it and finding how he wants to deal with it. And I just really liked how she showed that character. Brian, I was not a big fan of. I don't know why exactly, because in the very beginning of the story I was like, oh, Noah has a great friend now, and then I was like, oh my gosh, Noah and Brian, they're gonna be so cute together. And then as the story went on, I was like, oh, Brian, yeah. And I felt that Noah never really moved on from him, and I was like, why not? He's not that great. And I'm pretty sure it's just me because I've talked to a few people, and Brian was one of their favorites, and I don't know, he just didn't really, I didn't connect with him. Even though, like, we never heard him talk more than, like, 3-4 sentences at a time. I just didn't understand him or his notions or whatnot. And Oscar, on the other hand, I was a big fan of. And I know that he's probably written to be somebody that everybody likes, and it worked. I really liked him. I thought that it was good that he was honest about what had happened to him with Jude. I thought it was cool how he talked about his experience with their mom. I liked how he stayed with, I can't pronounce that name, so I'm just going to call him G. I like how he stayed with G. I like how he treated Jude, even though it was really bad, but it was still like a playful sort of relationship. I don't like that he cheated on her with other girls, but I like how they acted and how their like relationship was. I really liked reading that, and yeah. The actual plot, and this is where it gets actual spoilers, so you know what? It's turning into a spoiler review. Okay. And the actual plot I really enjoyed. It's about how their mom dies and all this stuff happens, and then through Noah's point of view, and then through Jude's point of view you see like, okay, in Noah's point of view you see cause, and Jude's point of view you see the effect. And so I thought it was really cool to be able to see that, and then in the end you figure out how G was related to their life, how Jude got into CSA and Noah didn't. You saw what happened with Brian. You saw everything. You saw why Noah and Jude weren't as close anymore. And I just really enjoyed it, and especially the part where Noah is at G's art studio and he thinks his mom is following him, and then he finds out that she and G have like a relationship together. I'm like, oh my gosh, and now Jude's working with him, and it was so cool. And at the end of the book I just wanted to read it all over again and, you know, stroke it like it's my baby. I actually don't stroke babies, but it would like get all over the face. You get all those bodily liquids, and don't stroke babies, stroke books. And I just loved it, and I know that wasn't a very thorough review, but I don't know how I can express how much I loved this book. I'll just kiss it. That's how I'll express my love. So I hope you guys enjoyed my very first review. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's my first review. How the Blood of Olympus was predictions. So I hope you liked my review. Go make yourself a cup of tea, because tea is the best, and go read a book. I have plenty to read now because my new books came. Yeah. Okay. And go drink some tea.